Welcome to the You Are the Universe podcast. I'm your host, Victoria Haffer, intuitive healer and holistic life and body coach with over 20 years of facilitating massive transformation for people and animals. And I'm so glad you're here. Today's topic is spiritual team, your spiritual team, calling in your spiritual team. What is my spiritual team? I get this question a lot because I do work with this tool quite often. So now, first off, everybody has a spiritual team working with them. Whether you know it or not, whether you acknowledge it or not, they are there. And it's one of the divine laws of spirituality in the universe is that they can't really intervene in your life unless you ask for support / help and or give them permission, right, to step in. So you have to have a little bit of a conscious awareness of calling them in to your life, into your space, into your reality. And so everybody's spiritual team is a little bit different. It's definitely made up of a combination of, and I'm going to just share with you, and you just see what might resonate with you or not. We're all born with guardian angels, typically 2, and so they're kind of, given to you. Really, it's when your soul it incarnates and goes into your mother's womb. When, as soon as the soul chooses to be here on this plane, on this planet, on this dimension, on this reality, then your angels kind of show up there. And there's also archangels that you might be familiar with. And remember, this is all non-denominational. This isn't religious at all. This is just pretty much just kind of open up the space to being in your spiritual way, not religious way. Now, if you are religious, that's wonderful. And if you connect on a religious place, that's okay. But just notice if you get you may get triggered because of things from childhood that you thought, maybe don't serve you now. And perhaps you'd like to just delete, destroy, and uncreate everything that you believed when you were a little girl or a little boy. So archangels might be Archangel Michael, Archangel Ariel, Archangel Metatron. There's lots of different many archangels, in fact. Goddesses or gods, deities, ascended masters, and teachers. So ascended masters are typically beings, entities that actually walked the earth. And because they were working at such a high frequency, when their soul left their body, it's called ascension, or they became ascended. And so examples of that, you may know a real cool dude called Jesus. Yeah. And really, Jesus is the epitome of what we call the Christ consciousness, which is really that it's similar to like Buddha, right? Buddha is also an ascended master as well. So you might have heard of Christ consciousness, and that's really the all-loving, all-knowing, non-judging kind of a space when you're, there might be a few of those people literally walking in human form on the planet, where most of us are, we're humans. Even though you might have a high frequency, we're all still humans here to have that human experience, even though we're multidimensional beings, right? We chose to incarnate into this lifetime, into this beautiful body that you're in. And if you're still breathing, you still have lessons to learn. So that's why we're here. Maybe you're a teacher, maybe you're a healer. Yes, and you still have lessons to learn for yourself. So just keep that in mind. Also, a part of our spiritual team might be our ancestors. So depending on what your ancestry looks like, for example, I'm connected, my ancestors sit in the Cherokee and Native American. And also it could be loved ones who have crossed over. So it could be relatives that have crossed over, grandmother, grandfather, uncle, sister, brother, mother, father, including the four-leggeds, or the, the winged ones, are known as our animal, beloved fur babies, or whatever. Maybe there was no fur if you're, if it's a snake or a lizard. But anyways, they, many beings can reincarnate and come back into our lives and support us in 3D on this planet through reincarnation, and or support us from the spirit world, and kind of watch over us, is sort of what we would say there, right? Now, for many of you also who connect to being a star seed, for example, like I absolutely am a star seed, but I'm also very deeply connected to Gaia, the planet that we live on. And I am from one of the planets anyway, is Sirius, and so I'm very deeply connected to Sirius as a star nation, and as well as part of my star team is from the Galactic Federation. And so I do connect with various star races. Again, if that resonates with you, then I would invite you to just do some exploration, do some searching, do some reading, search on social media or YouTube and learn more about various different star races and see if that, feels light to you. Also, power animals, spirit animals. I will do a separate podcast specifically on just this topic because it means that much to me. However, again, if you have an affinity for animals, if you're deeply connected to the animal kingdom, most likely you have a power animal, and that is typically an animal that has incarnated, chosen to be your animal guardian for this lifetime. And it could be an animal that you just have a really deep affinity for, or connection to, ever since you were a little child. And so that would be an animal that may stay with you throughout your entire lifetime. And often animals will show up for us at different times of our life, often in transition, when we're moving from one thing to another. Maybe we're looking to create a new career, and or we're just going through troubled times. Any aspect. It could be health, it could be addiction, it could be patterns, it could be divorce, any of those things. We're a specific animal because each animal basically has very specific, powerful messages and tools for us. And so if you were to just look up, for example, let's say if an animal, let's say a red cardinal, you were seeing red cardinals a lot. And typically the rule is that when you see an animal typically it's 3 times within a week or so, week and a half. And it's an animal that you don't see every day all the time. And it could just pop up and suddenly, like spider. All of a sudden there's a spider in your shower, or you go to get into your car and there's a spider on the door. So it's in places that you really can't miss. You go to come inside your house and you go to put your hand on the doorknob and a spider shows up. So they're right there. They're in there and they're saying, I'm here for you and I have a message for you. And so each animal, it represents a different aspect of something. And, simple enough, there's books, there's oracle decks that you can get, or you can just go to the good old internet and put in, spiritual meaning of spider showing up, and then you'll get some information. And I guarantee you it will resonate for you. They never make mistakes. The animal kingdom is a very powerful kingdom and essence of the universe for us to pay attention to. They can be our greatest teachers. So back to our spiritual team in the light. And I always like to say, when I call in my spiritual team in the light, just to make it clear and cozy, because again, when we sit here and we call in something and we're just, we're distraught, or you're going through a very, very dark time, the dark night of the soul perhaps, and things are just not looking good for you in that moment. And you go to, and you put your hands together, whether you're into prayer or not, and you just say, help, I need help, I need help. You're not being you're basically putting that message out to all entities and energetic beings. So I just want you to be mindful of when you ask for help and support that you're very specific, that you are calling from the essence and energy of the light, right? Your spiritual team of the light. And in your spiritual team, like I said, will change and can change. You could just say that. Even if you have no idea who your spiritual team is, you could just say, I'm calling in my spiritual team to support me for XYZ. So whatever the thing is, I highly recommend and invite you to call in your spiritual team every morning. When you wake up, I typically do it in the shower. I work with the many of the ocean magical creatures of the ocean. So I call in grandmother whale, I call in the golden dolphin avatars, I work with the orcas. So it just depends on what if say you love horses, you may work with the equine ancestors. If you love dogs, you may work with the wolf ancestors or your wolf guardians, right? So this is all about you and what resonates with you. Everybody's spiritual team is different. So calling in as you get to know and you start to identify and really connect with, if you really deeply connect with Jesus, I would, as an ascended master, I would highly recommend that you call him in for that, Christ consciousness, the true love essence of our being. There's lots of other ascended masters and teachers that I work with. And again, I advise you to just play with that and experience how it feels for you to be like, oh, wow, goddesses, that's interesting. And then you could, again, get a book on goddesses or an oracle deck on goddesses and then start to play with that. I actually have one of my favorite decks is a goddess oracle deck. And basically what I'll do is, let's say I'm having a challenge in my life, whatever the challenge is. We all have them. You're at a crossroads. You don't know what to do. It's something that you've been looking for a solution to the problem for a long time. And you just want some guidance, right? Some guidance or advice. And so go to your deck, go to your oracle deck. Again, if you don't have one, I would highly recommend that you look at and explore some oracle decks. Most of us are near to a new age shop. So if you'd rather see it in person versus, ordering online. And so you go to your oracle deck and you put out the question and you just say, I'm asking for information. I'm asking for guidance to receive information from the goddesses, right? From the fairies, from the power and, the animal kingdom. There's all different kinds of oracles. You don't need a deck, but if you're really a beginner and a newbie, working with an oracle deck is it's so great and wonderful. I mean, even as a more advanced practitioner, I love my oracle decks. I have so many. So you just ask the question, you put it out there, shuffle up the deck, and then, pull a card. And it might be, which goddess could I be working with to support me in my whatever the thing is, right? If you're at a crossroads, if you don't know what your next steps are, if you're in a situation, a relationship, or at a job that it doesn't feel like it's your high, for your highest and best, you're like, here, let me get some advice, bam. And then you pull the card and then you read whatever it says. So pretty simple. So there's other ways that you can work with your spiritual team that can be very beneficial. Think about any time there's something you have to do that you're really uncomfortable about. Let's say you have to have a conversation with somebody and that's kind of not your forte. You have to tell someone how you really feel. It could be your partner. It could be a close friend. It could be a coworker. And so call in the spiritual team. When I have to because I do these things a lot, things that, sometimes, You just have to do the things. You have to tell the person how you feel, or as I have a lot of management experience, and there's been many times that I've had to write up an employee or even, let somebody go. So we all have things that we have to do in our life that aren't always the easiest to do. Setting good boundaries. Maybe that's a thing. Maybe that's one of your challenges, and is you feel like everybody takes advantage of you and you're playing the victim. But really, unless you're a small child, as an adult, you can't have any excuses about anything when it comes to boundaries, because you teach everybody around you how to react to you and how to treat you. So if you're saying everybody takes advantage of me, you need to rephrase that and say, wow, I let everybody take advantage of me. And so once you start to notice some of the things in your life, in your world, that, your patterns, your behaviors, your belief systems that aren't serving you anymore, you can ask your spiritual team to support you in the change. They don't do it for you. However, by asking them, they're gonna sprinkle some gold, dust on there, and it may be a little bit easier for you because you are asking for support from your universal spiritual team. You can play around with the spiritual team supporting you. If you're running late somewhere and you need to have a rock star, parking spot, that's also fun to play with too. But typically I'm calling on my team for maybe things that are a little bit more important. So in this space, let's just take a moment. Of course, if you're driving, keep your eyes open and just delete, destroy, and uncreate your relationship with your spiritual team. Good and bad, right and wrong, pot and pock, all nine shirts, boys, povers, and beyonds. And delete, destroy, and uncreate your belief systems around what it looks like to have a spiritual team. Because if you have belief systems that aren't revving with this frequency and you're bringing it into the present moment, then your spirit team can't support you. So delete, destroy, and uncreate any beliefs that you might have about your spiritual team and what they do and what they don't do and what they are and who they are and all those things, and just blow it up. Just blow all that up. And then that allows you to come to this moment right here, right now, with a fresh point of view. Right? It's just like starting anew again. And you don't have to allow that anything from the past to cloud your present moment around here. You can also listen to a guided meditation. I'm sure there's many of them out there on YouTube or anywhere else that you might find them, on how to find a spirit team member. Because remember, there's different aspects of your spiritual team. And it could you may have an entity that's working with you that is just with you for this part of your life, just to help you transition from one thing to another, or transform or transmute something in your world. And so it doesn't mean, they're always there if you want to call on them, but they may not be sitting in the vicinity of your field. So just take a moment and just take a few long, slow, deep breaths. And this is why meditation can be so powerful. If you're not already practicing some form of meditation on a regular basis, I would highly recommend you listen to my podcast, Meditation for People Who Suck at Meditating. And so just getting present and getting grounded, dropping your roots down through your feet, from the base of your tailbone, down through, could be a chair, your car, your house, a building that you're in, and drop those cords all the way down to the core of the earth. And then imagine that you're connecting and attaching from your crown up into beyond the clouds and into the stars. So connecting stars, earth. Breathe. Healing and sealing any micro tears in your energetic field at this time. And just imagine you're being surrounded with golden white light. Cleaning and clearing any stagnant energy in your field. And then just invite your spirit team of the light in. And this is if you want, right? So choosing, I am open to receiving and perceiving information from my spiritual team. Now, it can come in many different ways. We all have different ways in which we receive intuitive information. You may have a strong knowing, you may feel it, you may hear it, you may see it, you may smell it. There's all different, clairs that are out there around our psychic, intuitive abilities, which we all have. A lot of us are just stuffing it down, pushing it into the Pandora's box. And so just know from here that you've just set that, you've planted the seeds, you've connected with your spirit team. And now I would highly recommend that you connect with them on a daily basis. Even if you don't know how, say, if you're like, I don't know how to do this thing, just say, hey, my spirit team of the light, I know you're there, not sure how to receive information from you, but I'm open. And that's it. That's all you need to do. And just keep doing it. And eventually you're going to start to see those signs all over the place. The universe is constantly connecting and communicating with you. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. It would mean the world to me if you haven't already. Hit that follow button. Feel free to share with your friends and your family and hit that little bell so that you get those notifications as soon as a new podcast is dropped. I love you so much. And remember to be and see the magic in everyday life.